Welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving deep into one of the most precise and tactically brilliant Ukrainian military operations in recent months. An ambush that changed the course of a key front in the ongoing war. This wasn't just another strike. It was a calculated act of strategic patience, intelligence mastery, and flawless execution. L'Ukraine a démontré une stratégie tactique brillante en attendant le moment optimal pour frapper. Instead of rushing into action, the Ukrainian forces waited, silently, observantly, and with the kind of patience that defines true military intelligence. They knew that timing was everything. The target? A Russian munitions convoy carrying critical supplies destined for frontline artillery units. This convoy wasn't small. It carried enough ammunition to fuel multiple days of heavy combat, artillery shells, fuel containers, and support equipment. The Russians thought they were operating in a relatively secure corridor, confident in their logistical planning and protective escorts. But what they didn't know was that Ukrainian reconnaissance teams had been watching every movement, tracking the route, analyzing terrain, and studying the rhythm of these supply runs for weeks. The plan was not to strike the first convoy, nor the second, but to wait for the one carrying the maximum load, the shipment that would hurt the Russian offensive the most if it were lost. That's where Ukraine's strategic brilliance truly shone. When the time came, the operation unfolded with surgical precision, using a combination of advanced drone surveillance, satellite imagery, and on-ground reconnaissance. The Ukrainian command identified the convoy's exact position as it entered a narrow valley, a perfect ambush point. Within seconds, a series of coordinated drone strikes and artillery fire engulfed the area. Witnesses described it as a wall of fire, multiple explosions lighting up the night sky as each vehicle in the convoy detonated in a chain reaction. The munitions inside ignited like a rolling thunderstorm, turning the Russian supply line into a field of fire and smoke. In less than 10 minutes, the entire convoy, dozens of trucks and vehicles, was reduced to burning wreckage. The Ukrainian forces didn't need to send ground troops into the danger zone. The air precision was enough. The message was clear. Ukraine had mastered the art of strategic waiting and decisive execution. But behind this spectacular operation lies months of preparation. Intelligence officers had intercepted communications, analyzed transport schedules, and pinpointed vulnerabilities in Russian logistics. Every step was informed by data, not guesswork. Ukrainian drones patrolled day and night, gathering footage and patterns. The kind of information that modern warfare depends on. This ambush wasn't just about destruction. It was about timing, efficiency, and message. By striking at the moment when the convoy carried its largest shipment, Ukraine not only crippled an immediate Russian offensive, but also sent a clear psychological signal. No target, no matter how secure, is beyond their reach. The aftermath was devastating for the Russian forces. Reports indicate that hundreds of tons of ammunition were lost, along with vehicles, communication systems, and several officers coordinating logistics. For the Russian command, this wasn't just a material loss. It was a logistical nightmare. Units on the front line suddenly found themselves running low on shells and rockets, disrupting the rhythm of their attacks and forcing them to scale back operations in multiple sectors. And here's where the operation's brilliance becomes even more evident. The Ukrainian forces had not only destroyed a convoy, they had disrupted a chain. Every modern army depends on a delicate balance of supply and demand. You can have the most powerful artillery in the world, but without ammunition, it's useless. By targeting supply lines instead of direct combat units, Ukraine effectively attacked the Russian army's bloodstream. It was a move inspired by both modern warfare tactics and lessons from history, reminiscent of how supply disruption can cripple an entire campaign without a single large-scale battle. Now let's look at the operational mechanics. This was not a random drone strike. Each drone was assigned a specific target, guided by real-time data. The precision was astonishing, hitting fuel carriers first to create massive explosions, then targeting munitions trucks to amplify the impact. The result was not just physical damage, but chaos, communication cutoffs, confusion, and panic among Russian soldiers in nearby sectors who suddenly lost contact with their supply units. Ukrainian intelligence teams later released intercepted Russian radio chatter showing complete disarray. Soldiers were heard asking for updates, unaware that their convoy had been annihilated. Command posts scrambled to reroute supplies, but it was too late. The gap in the supply chain had already weakened their positions. This kind of operation shows how modern warfare has evolved. Gone are the days when success was determined solely by the number of troops or tanks. Now intelligence, timing, and precision dominate the battlefield. A well-coordinated strike like this can achieve more than a week of conventional fighting. And what makes this event even more remarkable is the patience it required. Ukrainian forces resisted the urge to strike earlier. They waited for the right conditions, the right convoy, the right weather, the right positioning. That discipline and control define elite military professionalism. The impact on morale was equally significant. Ukrainian soldiers and citizens celebrated the strike as proof of their growing technological superiority and tactical wisdom. Meanwhile, Russian troops faced the demoralizing realization that even their secure routes were vulnerable. Military analysts suggest that this single operation may have delayed Russian advances in that sector by several weeks. Without steady ammunition flow, artillery units had to ration their fire, reducing pressure on Ukrainian defenders. It gave Ukraine a window of opportunity to regroup, reinforce, and prepare counteroffensives. This wasn't just a victory in a tactical sense, it was strategic. It demonstrated Ukraine's growing command over drone warfare, reconnaissance technology, and real-time intelligence fusion. Western supplied tools played a role, but the planning, coordination, and execution were purely Ukrainian. Now, what's equally fascinating is how this event changes the broader dynamics of the conflict. It signals a shift from reactive defense to proactive control, from responding to Russian moves to dictating the tempo of the battlefield. By destroying supply routes, Ukraine is forcing Russia to rethink logistics, extend routes, and expose itself to even more risk. Every kilometer added to a supply line increases vulnerability, and Ukraine knows this. They're turning geography into a weapon, leveraging terrain, timing, and intelligence to make every Russian movement costly. On the global stage, military strategists are watching closely. This operation serves as a case study in hybrid warfare, combining drones, data, and patience to achieve a decisive blow. It's the kind of precision operation that redefines modern combat strategy and sets new standards for smaller nations facing larger adversaries. In many ways, this is the perfect example of asymmetric warfare, where intelligence and agility overcome size and numbers. Ukraine has turned its relative disadvantages into strengths, transforming the battlefield into a chessboard of strategic opportunities. And what about the consequences? The immediate result was destruction, but the long-term effect was disruption. Russian command had to divert resources to rebuild its supply network, consuming time and effort that could have been used for offense. Meanwhile, Ukrainian intelligence likely used the chaos to prepare for future strikes. In the following days, satellite images showed scorched roads, destroyed trucks, and the blackened remains of what used to be a vital artery for Russian logistics. Analysts confirmed secondary explosions lasting for hours, suggesting that the convoy was carrying more than just standard ammunition, possibly advanced systems or fuel compounds. Even more interesting, this strike reportedly triggered a review of Russian convoy protocols. They began moving smaller groups, changing routes frequently, but that too makes them slower and less efficient. Ukraine managed not only to destroy one target, but to change the entire logistical approach of its enemy. This operation will likely be remembered as a turning point in the logistics warfare of this conflict. It proves that with intelligence, patience, and precision, even a single ambush can ripple through the entire war structure. As the war continues, Ukraine's focus on strategic targets, command centers, depots, and supply routes, reveals a long-term vision: weaken the backbone before striking the body. It's not about single victories. It's about cumulative pressure that erodes the enemy's capacity to sustain combat. The takeaway here is clear. Patience is a weapon, information is power, and precision turns both into victory. For viewers following this channel, this operation represents not only a stunning military achievement, but a lesson in how modern warfare is evolving. The age of brute force is fading, replaced by intelligence-led precision and adaptive tactics. As Ukraine continues to adapt, its ability to anticipate and outthink its opponent will be the deciding factor. Every successful strike like this shows that war today is fought not only with weapons, but with data, planning, and control of time.